Sure, mein Pinkie Pie. I hear you have secrets. Secrets that could shape the future of Equestria.
Well, maybe I do and maybe I don't.
I do not deal in maybes, especially when talking about babies. You will tell me what I wish to know or suffer the consequences.
Before we go any further, what's with the getup?
Ew. I made this back when Trixie took over Ponyville. Thought I'd get with the winning team, but I literally bet on the wrong horse.
Uh-huh.
Now, mein Pinkie Pie, you will tell me what I wish to know, or bad things will happen.
Never! Losing a friend's trust is the fastest way to lose a friend.
Then I am left with but one recourse. Did you know that I am part woodpecker?
You wouldn't dare!
Tell me your secrets.
Never! Ugh! Curse your black heart, Silver-Quill! Alright! I'll tell you the truth.
Yes?
I used discount sugar in my last batch of cupcakes!
Was?
And there's no National Lederhosen Day! I just wanted a costume party! I hadn't had one in 5 days! Plus I faked Celestia's signature to approve a surprise party for, well, Princess Celestia! I mean, it's not a surprise party if she has to sign for it! I tried to interrogate Spike again to find out what Twilight wants for her birthday, and then I bought a silence with the cubic zirconia! I thought Gummy looked cute playing the laundry, but didn't say anything until he tried to eat Mr. Cake's face! I always thought Big Macintosh was kind of cute, but didn't want to be involved in a shipping war! Speaking of, I shipped Rainbow Dash with the kitchen sink! Fluttershy asked me to watch over Angel.
Okay, so it appears that getting Pinkie Pie to talk isn't the issue.
I spilled frosting on Rarity's newest dress and said it was the new dessert couture line.
It's getting her to stop.
Chased by several hungry puppies across Canterlot. One time, I had a dream of whipped cream, and Princess Luna thought I needed psychiatry.
Such funny timing. As I'm creating this review about an episode covering the importance of keeping a surprise and protecting a friend's feelings, someone online hacked and leaked resources for My Little Pony Season 8. How very ironic.
It's not ironic, it's just coincidental.
Huh, I suppose so. Thank you, random cameo. Anywho, we begin with a minor revelation. Pound and Pumpkin Cake are now old enough that they don't have to wear diapers. An interesting little tidbit is we're about to learn this show will feature a new baby.
Shining Armor and Princess Cadance are having a baby?
Which might be the entire focus of this episode, except that she has to keep this a secret. For the record, Pumpkin Cake sells that scene.
That means I have to keep the exciting news to myself.
Dramatic reverb.
When this episode first aired, a big part of the fandom reaction I witnessed was the debate over the fact that we knew the secret from the get-go. Though My Little Pony isn't designed to keep an older audience guessing, sometimes I think that fans like to play along and speculate whenever there's a mystery. Kinda like with Wind Rider and the mystery on Spitfire's disappearance. But in this case I think it works because of two little words: dramatic irony. Dictionary.com defines dramatic irony as irony that is inherent in speeches or a situation of drama and is understood by the audience but not grasped by the characters in play. To put this another way, we in the audience get to look at our favorite ponies besides Pinkie Pie and say, I know something you don't know, I know something you don't know, I know something you don't know. Also, you might find Pinkie Pie bound and gagged in Twilight's castle. I know this because of completely innocent and non-incriminating reasons, which is more than I can say for Twilight. Okay, doodles!
What?
Because we know what's motivating Pinkie, we get to share in the tension as she tries to go with the flow while not giving away the biggest secret. Imagine how much more frustrating or uninvested a majority of the episode might feel if we didn't know why it was so important that Pinkie keep her silence. We'd be rooting for her to break down rather than stay strong.
I have no idea what that's like!
High props to Pinkie, because while she may sometimes get lost in her own excitement, she really does get what makes others happy.
Watching some pony else be surprised with something is almost better than being the one who's getting the surprise.
So after a little unintentional guilt trip from her friends, Pinkie decides on a course of action.
Then all I have to do is lock myself in my room away from every pony until they arrive.
There is logic in what she says.
Why do you all keep coming here? Anyway, because the universe likes to laugh at our plans, Pinkie has to honor a Pinkie promise and make deliveries on a day where every pony and their grandmare seems to be mentioning babies.
Baby carrots. Treat your bowl like royalty?
A baby pony, please. Unless, of course, that would be a royal pain. Maybe you'd better just make me a giraffe.
Hey, I know you're new to this whole speaking role thing, Featherweight, but word choice is important. Of course, this gives Pinkie Pie ample opportunities for physical humor. This is going to depend heavily on the audience's view since humor is very, very subjective. To me, it's the tension of the shared secret that really drives it home. Less investing is how Pinkie narrates her own feelings.
It didn't feel good ignoring my friends like that.
And all we need to see is her wincing as she charges past, and I think the same message comes across. Then again, Pinkie's not enjoyed an internal monologue this episode.
Then they would tell Twilight and she wouldn't be surprised, and it would be all my fault.
Everybody got that?
Seriously, are you all just waiting for these moments? It's worth noting that there's an element of both karma and sincerity in Pinkie's struggle. Way back in season 1, she made an assertion.
And losing a friend's trust is the fastest way to lose a friend forever. Forever!
And she hounded Twilight over this idea, even threatening violence in her own unique way.
Juicy!
So it's also a test to see if she can really live up to her own ideal. Son of a gun, she's meeting this challenge, and thus her claims back in season 1 have a little more weight. She's not going for a do as I say, not as I do approach. I respect that. It's also nice that, despite their previous unintentional pressure, her friends are ready to lend an ear. Of course, Pinkie takes it to weird places.
Oh my god, more balloons! More balloons! Hide your family! Get down, balloons! Ah! I mean, come on! When is a balloon ever gonna look intimidating?
Okay, yes, thank you. Please get in line for your complimentary cameo gift basket. Just as Pinkie is about to spill the beans, convenient timing saves the day. And here we are, 14 minutes and 12 seconds into the story before Shining Armor and Princess Cadance show. That's about halfway through the entire episode. Yet how strange, because this episode marks the start of their new—
I'm guessing you saw the scroll we sent to Mr. and Mrs. Cake?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm guessing you saw the scroll we sent to Mr. and Mrs. Cake?
Wait, you're saying they didn't even consider that Pinkie Pie might find out early? That in all their planning, meticulous as we shall soon see, they never tried to account for Pinkie Pie? You two, with me! Now pay attention, class. When considering a celebration, Pinkie Pie is the constant. You never forget the Pinkie Pie. Because if you do, there's no way this oversight reflects well. And that's important because you two struggle with this omission-based trend. From not telling Twilight about their wedding beforehand, to not having an escort for Pinkie into the great unknown, Cadance and Shining Armor just don't seem to consider others. Once or twice might be a simple oversight, but given the limited presentation these two have, such moments stand out. Now, fair is fair, it's Mrs. Cake who dropped the letter and spilled the beans. But she did so because she was excited by the news. Was it so important that they tell Mrs. Cake the reasoning? Or could they have ordered the resources and explained the event face to face? I don't resent the fact that these two receive help from others, but I am disappointed that when given the chance to give back, I don't sense that these two are giving 100%. This episode shows Pinkie Pie at her best. She's willing to struggle against herself to keep their trust and to preserve Twilight's feelings. Pinkie honors all her promises even while trying to remain isolated. It shows just how much she gives unto others to promote general happiness. But now I find out that she's facing that burden because you two didn't exercise enough care in conveying an important message. Now, that's not to say this episode is purely negative. Shining Armor, my enjoyment for you is increased thanks to one simple word: joy. This is a micro preview of the very feelings Pinkie is trying to protect for Twilight and the royal couple. The payoff of a surprise that gives both recipient and giver. Yet it's also a moment where Shining Armor isn't trying to be the fairy tale husband or the perfect big brother. It's in a similar vein to the Nay Anything comic that presented him as more nerd than jock. But given the comic's canon is tenuous at best, I am very glad to see this. And my hope for you, Cadance, is that you can have some moments like this that give you— Oi! Oi! I hadn't even billed them for tuition yet! Appearance quota? I'm sorry, what? Yes, another frustration is that just as I'm about to get to know these characters better, they leave the scene. Although in this case it is with a purpose, and shows the history between Twilight and her brother.
Shining Armor used to set these up for me when I was a filly.
This is where I'm at odds with myself. I want to call them bad planners because of the previous Pinkie Pie oversight, and now they're forcing her to go along with it further.
You're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer.
And yet I can't say that they're bad planners because the scavenger hunt is truly impressive. They took out an article in the full free press and possibly arranged for Featherweight to be at just the right spot. They made Mayor Mare a part of this little conspiracy, though that might have been a mistake.
Baby, a royal pain.
And they managed to draft a furniture store owner to display a message. So with all this carefully laid groundwork, why force Pinkie to participate? The poor pony is all but exploding with information. She's rushing them through each phase and cutting down on Cadence and Shining Armor's prep time. The most immediate argument I can make is that if she didn't participate, we, the audience, would not get to see the scavenger hunt unfold. Which is true, but I want to highlight how that argument could do more harm than good. All of fiction is based on the idea of immersion. We walk with a character through their journey, just as we have with Pinkie Pie. We've shared in her frustration by understanding her motives. A little heavy-handed in some places, but I was right there with her. But now something is happening not because it's what the characters would do, but because what the script demands. The man behind the curtain is revealed, and so I'm not as invested as before. Of course, the ponies make their way to the conclusion, though Twilight's not in her normal, sharp mind.
After that, we found Applejack's birth certificate, and then the last clue was under a crib.
But to Pinkie's credit and the animator's skills with expressions, we get the payoff.
We're having a baby!
I do smile as I see the two proud papas talking, and every pony celebrates. I notice that Spike is absent, but I imagine he's in hiding after torching Shining Armor's comic book. All this thanks to Pinkie Pie, who is often blinded by her own enthusiasm, but won the internal battle to protect her friend's joy.
Go, Pinkie!
However, there is one lingering question.
Was it much trouble?
No, that is not my lingering question. In fact, compare that against Shining Armor's earlier statement,
Hey, I'm impressed you've been able to keep our secret this long.
and now Cadence is suddenly looking worse than her husband. Which leads to my real question. Who is this episode really developing? Pinkie is a joy because I felt a stake in her struggles. She had to fight against herself, but I think she would have done that for any of her friends. So did this episode develop Cadence and Shining? There were certainly many questions that followed this episode. Things like, will there be a baby shower episode? Will we see Cadence grow with pregnancy? Will the foal be an alicorn, a boy or a girl? The answers were no, definitely no, alicorn, and this show is aimed at girls. Did you seriously think they wouldn't market a new princess? This episode signaled a turning point in the royal couple's lives, but in terms of presentation, I think only Shining Armor came out looking more positive. We got to see his more playful side and learned about the bond he shares with his little sister. Plus, he expressed both gratitude and empathy towards Pinkie. That question from Cadence at the end just highlights how out of sync she is with the others. Despite all I've said to this point, I think there is at least one other viewpoint to consider. Cadence has only recently found out that she's going to be a mother. Though we'd eventually see Shining Armor freak out, it's very likely that Cadence is having to deal with a lot of emotions, prioritizations, and doubts right now. She planned the overall event almost perfectly, but I think that one could argue she was so focused on this change in her life that Pinkie's own situation couldn't register. If this episode existed within a bubble, I think I'd be more supportive. Yet I mentioned a track record where Cadence seems to be the recipient of affection and respect, but doesn't have a lot of opportunities to reciprocate or pay it forward. Because of this, I can accept the idea of her distraction, but even if that is the truth, I find it doesn't differ from previous episodes. So my frustration with her limited presentation continues. At the end of the day, Pinkie Pie makes this a delightful episode, but I wish we could see some greater consideration from those she helped. Maybe down the line. I'm Silver-Quill, and if you'll excuse me, I have another matter to attend. Now then, my dear Fräulein Mayor, it seems you have trouble with a particular notion. Loose lips sink friendships! But all shall be well. Under the guidance of the Supreme Party Commander, Herr Nascherein, we shall teach you how to hold your silence. But have no fear, Fräulein Mayor. We are here to make you smile. Smile! Smile!